According to Mazda, this car here is one of the most important new releases for the Japanese brand in the last decade. That's right, perhaps even more so than the wildly popular CX-9 SUV, and even more so than its first ever electric car, the MX-30. So the 2022 Mazda CX-60 is kind of a big deal then. While it may appear like the CX-5 mid-size SUV on the outside, there is actually a lot of difference separating the two under the skin. We've come to Portugal here to test the ins and outs of this latest entry to the Mazda range, which will be on Australian roads before the end of 2022. Let's get into it. As it stands, the CX-60 is a mid-size SUV to sit directly above the CX-5 as a more premium offering. Mazda is looking to elevate the brand with this car here to compete against perhaps even some prestige rivals, which is uncharted territory for the brand. It's also marginally bigger than the CX-5 in both length and width by 170mm and 45mm respectively. This is because the CX-60 rides on an all-new platform, with a long-awaited large architecture making its debut with this car. As a refresher, the large architecture is a rear-wheel drive bias platform which is set to underpin 4 new SUVs, the CX-60, the CX-70, the CX-80 and CX-90. It's also set to incorporate electrification to powertrains, something which Mazda has only dabbled with in the past. Although Mazda has released a full electric car before, this car here is its first plug-in electric hybrid model which pairs a 4-cylinder engine with a 17.8 kilowatt-hour battery. This is said to return a fuel consumption as low as 1.6 litres per 100 kilometres according to European testing. Not only that, but this engine under the bonnet here is a performance powerhouse. It pumps out outputs combined of 241 kilowatts and 500 newton meters, which is sent to all 4 wheels via a new Mazda-developed 8-speed automatic transmission. These outputs can propel the CX-60 plug-in hybrid from 0 to 100 kilometers an hour in 5.8 seconds, but not only that, it can also travel 60 kilometers on electric power alone. Put simply, it's the most powerful Mazda ever built. Mazda will sell the CX-60 with a range of other powertrains, but we will have to wait a bit longer to find out the full details regarding pricing and specification. Now, as mentioned, the CX-60 is billed as a premium offering which comes in a variety of specifications, but let's see what we've got going on inside this car we have today. Inside, the CX-60 gets a 12.3-inch digital instrument cluster, a first for the brand, and an equal-sized infotainment screen which equips wireless Apple CarPlay and Android Auto. Mazda's use of materials and build quality is set to a high level, which is good to see even in this pre-production car. Entry-level models rely on basic finishes, but higher-grade variants receive nicer trimmings with a suite of cool equipment. They look stunning in person and feel suitably premium. Featured equipment inside the CX-60 includes ambient cabin lighting, power-adjustable steering column, hands-free power tailgate, leather upholstery, heated and ventilated seats, heated steering wheel, panoramic sunroof, and a 12-speaker Bose sound system. While not all of these items will be available on every CX-60, it gives you a brief glimpse of what your CX-60 could look like. In the front seat, the space here is a little bit cozy, but you do get good adjustability between the steering wheel and the seats to get that ideal driving position. 2 new interesting aspects of the CX-60 regard the driver personalisation system and see-through view camera systems. The former involves cameras which identify a driver's eyeline and addresses a suitable driving position, while the latter makes it easier to see through your car when manoeuvring into a parking space. In the back seat, it does feel like a large architecture car. There is a good amount of headroom, knee room and foot room, and there's nice amenities down here like this full power outlet and heated seats back here as well. The 570-litre boot is accessed through a power tailgate here, and as you can see inside, there's a good amount of space and it's square-shaped, so easy to load in those larger items and slide them to the back there. And this low loading floor does make loading in heavy items much easier. But for now, let's get back behind the steering wheel and get out for a drive.
Dominating the driving experience is Mazda's 2.5 litre naturally aspirated engine bolstered by a 17.8 kilowatt-hour battery.
Off-the-line acceleration when the car is primed is pretty lively, and the car does get up and going very simply.
It certainly feels like you get the whole 241 and 500 Nm outputs delivered to the ground, with excellent traction and grip thanks to a reassuring all-wheel drive system.
Now, while those headline power outputs on paper sound impressive, it does take a bit of effort to get the car moving. You really have to put your foot down into it to get it on the move. The new 8-speed transmission is quiet and smooth for the most part, though there is a little bit of low-speed hesitation when you're around town.
It is much better behaved at higher speeds where shifts are barely felt.
There are a few clunks and rattles and that sort of thing. I hope it's ironed out on the production car.
Mazda only provided pre-production cars for this early test drive.
One thing to note is once you do run out of that battery electric power, it does revert to 140 kilowatts, which is sort of lackluster for this kind of mid-size SUV car.
The car allows the driver to preserve battery for a later date, which is a handy feature, meaning you could drive to a location using petrol power and then deploy the electric motor once around town, for example. Ride control errs on the side of firm, though Mazda is insistent that this car should deliver a sporty driving experience.
It does pick up a lot of little niggles and that sort of hesitation over little bumps and that sort of thing, but when you are on the out open road, it is nice and comfortable and it's a good tourer.
It only really annoys over smaller road imperfections, which feel a bit brittle as they're translated through to the cabin.
Body control around corners, it does pitch into the opposite side of the car and there is a bit of body roll around, but that said, it doesn't detract too much from the driving experience and it does still feel quite sporty for what is a mid-size SUV. There is a load of grip from that all-wheel drive drivetrain. I've never really once worried about putting the power down onto the road.
One thing Mazda should be commended on is the impressive quietness of the cabin when on the move. It feels suitably high-end at all speeds, with next to no wind noise or vibrations felt inside the cabin.
At first look, the Mazda CX-60 is an interesting prospect for Mazda in Australia and elevates the brand to a new space.
With an impressive cabin featuring a new design and nice materials, as well as its frugal powertrain, this CX-60 offers a new direction for the Japanese manufacturer. Provided Mazda can clean up some of those quirky noises and awkwardness of the powertrain, this will be a convincing car in a plug-in hybrid SUV segment, which is only set to gain in popularity.
We'll know more about the Mazda CX-60 before it arrives in Australia at the end of this year. But for now, it looks set to be a compelling alternative to some of those higher tier models, especially in plug-in hybrid guys. If you want to know more about the 2022 Mazda CX-60, be sure to read the full review on drive.com.au. And be sure to like this video and subscribe to our YouTube channel.